So, the university year started again recently. On the one hand, I don't have as much time to make videos as normal, but on the other hand, I'm reading a lot of really interesting stuff. One thing that might be weird that I really enjoy is reading through interpretations of tombs. Like, I find it so cool how much a single burial can say about a culture. Often they're the only things that survive over thousands of years. And when there are multiple tombs, and you can see patterns, and you can learn about the structure of society, about how people are feeding themselves, about what people do every day, about what they believed, about how all these things changed over time, they're just really fascinating. So, I made a random burial generator. It's got a bunch of traits from burial customs around the world, and generates new combinations of them. Then it's kind of a challenge to work backwards and create the kind of culture that would create this kind of burial. I was thinking I could make a video where I just showed a few examples and showed the process of working backwards to world build a society out of archaeology. But then one of the randomly generated burials seemed like there had to be a cool story behind it. So here's the story. This is a tomb overlooking the plains. It's a passage tomb, which means it's got a long corridor and then a room where all the bodies are. It's decorated like a bedroom, which makes me think of Etruscan tombs, designed to resemble houses. And since they resemble houses, I'm kind of expecting a whole household to be buried here. But there's not. There are only 2 skeletons, both male, with daggers in their shoulders. Skeletons in real life aren't really accurate indicators of gender, but these skeletons are gendered to give a jumping off point for how gender works in this society. The daggers in the shoulders is kind of weird. Like, these bodies must have been cared for after death, and a lot of effort has to have gone into creating these tombs. So these were probably very valued people. But then why wouldn't the daggers be removed? And why would there be a painting of a person with a dagger? So there's definitely some kind of symbolic resonance to the daggers. The combination of symbolic death and high status people makes me think these 2 men are leaders of some kind. But it's not that rich a burial. In real life, high status burials often contain really expensive items. Maybe all the expensive items just got stolen. Or maybe this community is just more able to spend labour than physical objects. I like the idea of ritual murder of people with power. Let's combine the ibex-headed statue with the painting of a person with a dagger. The man with the head of an ibex is a personification of death and justice and power and masculinity. The horns of the ibex are a symbol of power, and so is the beard, because ibexes have cute little beards. They're like goats, which this society herds, but they're a bit wilder, a bit more aggressive, with bigger horns. Having power is like having big horns. It makes it easier to win fights, and it makes you look impressive, but when the horns get too big, they can be too heavy to hold up. Or they might provoke unnecessary fights. Or the horns might curl back too much and grow back into the goat's skull. Having power is dangerous. And so, every so often, the powerful need to be killed. The person who kills them will become the next leader. This violent transfer of power doesn't happen that often, because becoming a leader is a lot of responsibility. You have to personally kill someone, and you know that if you aren't a good leader, someone will come and kill you. Even when a leader is dead, though, they're still powerful. That's why the dagger has to be left in, so the spirit is pinned in place and can't come seeking revenge. But why would a small society of goat herders want to give someone this much power when they don't trust the powerful? Well, they didn't come up with the idea themselves. There are big city-states nearby with large trade networks that the goat herders would like to access. But these big cities all have monarchies, and they think the goat herders are too simple and unadvanced to be worth trading with. The goat herders think if they can establish their own monarchy, they'll be taken seriously as an ally and a trading partner. So they took the ibex symbolism that already existed in their culture and created the role of the Ibex King, as a kind of ambassador and as a projection of power and legitimacy. The Ibex Kings could command the rest of the goat herders to do things to help him look more powerful, like ordering people to build a chamber tomb for his family, or crafting items to trade using ibex imagery. Over a fairly short time, even the goat herders forgot why the Ibex King existed, and just saw evidence that he was powerful. The elderly man in this tomb was once an Ibex King, and he had this chamber tomb made because he knows the big city kings have big chamber tombs made for their households. When he was too old to effectively represent and command his people, he let his son kill him and take over. His son wasn't a very good Ibex King, so he got stabbed pretty quick. And the Ibex kingship passed on to another man, who arranged a nice burial for the previous king as a sign of respect, and then had a new tomb made for himself and his own family. So that's the story behind this grave, or at least the part of the story I've figured out so far. There's a link in the description to the grave generator, and hopefully it will suggest something interesting to you as well. If you figure out any cool stories from it, please let me know, I'd love to hear them.